The moment you step foot in Santa Fe, it beckons you to step out of the ordinary. A city that encourages risk-taking, a palette of perspectives, and cherishes the power of originality. Discover art that breathes, landscapes that come alive, and stories that resonate deep within your soul. It's just one of the things that makes the city different, but there's still so much more waiting to be uncovered.
Swing big and save even bigger with our Big League Markdowns at Capital Ford in Santa Fe. This is your shot at big league deals, like a new 2025 Ford F-150 XLT 4-wheel drive Power Boost Hybrid, now up to $9,900 off MSRP, or a new 2026 Ford F-250 Super Duty, now up to $6,100 off MSRP. We're offering up home run deals all day, every day, with these Big League Markdowns at Capital Ford in Santa Fe.
Welcome in, everyone, for another great episode with the Santa Fe Gloom live stream. Another amazing guest today with Kevin with Northern Soccer Club. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us on the Santa Fe Gloom podcast.
No, thank you, David. I'm thrilled to be here, and I've caught a few of the podcasts already, so I'm just honored to be a guest.
You're ready and prepared.
I'll try.
Yeah, so for our fans and listeners, sorry in advance, because Kevin and we just talked for like the last 30 minutes, and we just aired out all the great information on how to save the United States national team, how to build up the youth in Santa Fe. So I wish we could have aired that part, but we're just going to have a little do-over now. But before we get started with Kevin and Kevin's adventure here to Santa Fe, I would love to point out all of our great sponsors. And that is Pantry Dose of Santa Fe, Santa Fe Economic Development, Capital Ford, St. Vincent's Foundation, Del Norte Credit Union, La Fonda Foundation, Sam's Club, and Mercedes. So lots of community partners involved in the game. So thank you all so very much, because without your support, these community conversations do not start. So Kevin, welcome to Santa Fe, the new executive director. Shout out to Scott as well, former executive director of Soccer Club. Scott, if you're listening, if you catch this episode, thank you so much from myself. You've been on our show a couple times. So you just organized the Santa Fe Club so well. And we just have so many kudos to you, Scott. And, you'll always be a great face of soccer and just community engagement and everything you've done. So, Scott, thank you so much. And Kevin, why Santa Fe? Why Northern Soccer Club? Walk our fans on when you initially were like engaged with Santa Fe and you were like, wait a minute, I actually could go for this position here in Santa Fe.
Yeah. And first, David, I do want to echo what you said about Scott. Scott's been, I've been here since April 1st, and Scott's been tremendous, through the transition. He's still helpful for a conversation, and he's a great person. And I've enjoyed, getting to know him and his family, and someone I consider a friend straight away in Santa Fe. So, he for sure made the landing very soft. The job initially was posted midwinter, and my wife and I, even before we were married, we vacationed out in the Southwest, and it was just an area of the country we fell in love with. And we had this initial goal that someday we would find ourselves out here. And New Mexico was always on the list to visit, but it was, not somewhere we had been yet. But when you look periodically sometimes, I guess, and, maybe fate aligned to where, I was checking out what was happening in the Southwest in the soccer scene, and the job was posted, and, I applied, and, now I'm here a few months later. So, and I'm very grateful to be here. Santa Fe itself is city different is what they say, right? And it's unlike anywhere else I've ever been. Just I have an immense appreciation for just the nature and the beauty of the place for sure. But the people are so nice and so welcoming and genuine. My daughter made friends like a day after she was here. That's part of her nature, but the community is just so welcoming, right? And now I can't imagine being anywhere else, and so I'm very grateful and fortunate. For Scott, of course, and the board of directors, they've been tremendous as well of course, bringing me here and then helping me in my short time thus far.
Yeah, and tell our fans, viewers about your soccer experience. We chatted offline a little bit, and I mean, you're like a soccer guy. This is what you do for your career, and this is like your passion. So walk us through like your soccer resume and why it fits Santa Fe so well.
Sure. This is my life. It's family and soccer, and it's everything for me. A ball in my crib, right? I played since I could walk. We were the crazy soccer family driving all over the place to play games and right, wrong, or indifferent, right? But that's what we did as a family, right? My dad played in college. My dad played semi-pro in the USISL when that was a thing for indoor league. My dad coached, and my mom was an athlete. So I just, very fortunate just to have that type of background. I played college soccer Division II in Ohio, and really got into coaching straight away. I couldn't live a life without soccer, and soccer is how I met my wife as well. My wife, she doesn't coach right now, maybe in the future, but we did coaching courses together and networked, and she was fortunate enough to give me a date after a few years, and the
perseverance.
Yes, yeah. And I was living in Ohio, she was living in Michigan, I moved to Michigan to pursue that relationship, and I'm glad I did. 8 years later, we're happily married with a daughter, and I had great mentors that have helped me along the way in both Ohio and Michigan that helped shape me personally and professionally, and I hope that those types of experiences and lessons and background helps me, helps the club here in Santa Fe grow the soccer community.
Yeah, and Northern Soccer Club, executive director. What are some of the strategies, implementations that you kind of see forthcoming in the future that you can bring all of your knowledge from Michigan and everything you've done here to Santa Fe?
Well, I think it's tough to say definitively, because I think the most important thing is, really understanding the community in which you live. And, we can't pretend that, what worked at a club I worked at in Ohio, or what worked when I ran the club in Michigan, is going to work here in Santa Fe, right? My goal really, first and foremost, is to carry out the mission statement of the club, right? I believe in that. Your mission statement it's your North Star. It should answer all your questions. It should solve all your problems. So that's number one. And that mission really is, creating accessibility for soccer, helping transform lives through the game of soccer. And so that's always going to be priority and goal number one. Within that, I hope to grow the game right here, and not just within Northern, but the soccer community, and futsal community, as we'll talk about. And, I don't want to say that, the goal is to do X, Y, Z, because it may not be what Santa Fe needs, right? But, the approach really for me is always about people and what is going to be best for the players. And that's development as not just a soccer player, but that's development as a person. These are things I really, really believe in. And a soccer club should be more than just how to play soccer. Every sport should be that way. We have a great responsibility, a great opportunity to teach lessons through the game, right? And for me, when someone leaves Northern, whether they've graduated out, they move away, whatever it may be, that they should really feel they're a better person, not just a player, but a better person for having participated with Northern at any level of the game.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's very similar to what Gloom's vision is as well for the community. So what do you tell the people who are saying, and this is off the heels of us losing this last week against Belgium in the World Cup, saying, yeah, Kevin, that sounds good about, yeah, we want to have good characters, we want to have good kiddos in the community, which we all agree on. But at the end of the day, we want good characters, but we also want to win, and we want to develop Northern kids to win State Cup, to play college soccer or go to Europe, and then also represent the United States so we don't lose in the World Cup. What's your response to that?
Sure. A valid question, right? I think first and foremost is understanding the reality of how difficult it is, number one, where, and the statistics will show in the NCAA, I believe it's every year, maybe it's every 2 years, comes out with statistics of the number of high school kids who end up going into either Division 1, 2, 3 NAIA. And I believe it was in 2024, somewhere around 6% of graduating seniors into any level of college soccer. And then on the female side alone, I believe it was around 1% and then the men's side maybe 3%. So it's very hard. It's very, very hard to play at the highest levels. And so that's where I think, we as, clubs, as a soccer, wanting to be a soccer nation, need to stop chasing the result, I think, and focus back on what the player needs and the development process and the appropriate way we develop players at different ages and stages. And for me, something that is vital to develop top players is they have to love the soccer ball first. They have to be in love with wanting to play with the soccer ball. And that grows confidence, that grows competence, that then sets you on this trajectory to now learn to love the game of soccer. And then from there, if we're teaching appropriate ages and stages, logic will say at some point, those best players are going to rise. And they do now, right? But we can also do a better job as a country, as a community to focus more on what is appropriate for players. I know it's been making the rounds, David, and you've probably seen it too, of just because Norway's having kind of this amazing run here of how they value youth sports. And everyone does get a trophy in Norway, and they don't compete until older ages, and they don't keep score. And look at the generation of soccer players that's created. Look at the Olympians that has created. They do quite well in the Winter Olympics, and so there's things to be said, right? And yeah, rowing. There you go, right? And us as a country, though, we can't change it up every single time, right? And we were talking about this earlier. 1994 round of 16 exit, 2026 round of 16 exit. We've done 10, 20 different things in that 32 years, and something isn't clicking at some point, right? And so what does that become? Because the players are as talented as ever. They have all the resources, right? And some of it is at the youth level, valuing, I think, different things and putting the focus back on development, not professionalizing the players so early into their careers. But I think some of it as well is on the U.S. soccer, on the federation part too, of trying to have some consolidation, maybe of leagues, of platforms, things like that, from the top down, to where players maybe don't fall through the cracks. The focus becomes less on profit and more on how do we develop players, things like that. So that's just one hopefully semi-educated take on it, but I know that there's going to be 20 different answers to this problem, over the next 4 years. And again, if the U.S. goes and they make the round of 8 in 4 years, then everything's great. So,
yeah, this is a question that just came to me. Why do you think the women's team for U.S. soccer has been been so successful compared to the men? That just came to me. I'm
I
curious.
think I think it's a great question. I think that I think the world is catching up. I think that the reason is, for me, historically, the the women's game around the world has not been as valued as the men's up until recently, and
Yeah.
I think we see that now with the investment in the women's game. There's especially you think the women's the WSL in
Yeah.
England, their professional league. There's a lot more investment there, and professionalizing it. Right, the U.S. I think got that early start, and our college program, I think, in those 80s, early 90s on the women's side really set up the success of
Mhm.
the women's national team for a long, long time. And that's great, right? But we can see now the U.S. on the women's side, they're continuing to invest, they're continuing to push, and other nations are catching up for sure. And but that is only making them better, right? I think where
Yeah.
the question becomes is the men have always seemed to kind of been playing catch up, right? But at
Mhm.
what point do they start leveling the playing field? And it's not just, oh, hey, we had a close, loss, or we won this one really good game, and then we fall off again, right? So there's it's a great question, but I think that just the women's side, it was a head start in my opinion.
And bringing it back to the local level, in terms of Northern soccer, and I know we've kind of talked about this, and a organization like the Santa Fe Gloom, like how do we work together? And if you had like kind of a crystal ball, like what would you like to see how these both of our organizations work together?
Yeah. Well, look, I think futsal is a tremendous game um, for players, and it technically is different than soccer, right? And different rules, a heavier ball. But if you look at and the some of the greatest players in the world of all time will tell you that they grew up playing futsal or games similar to futsal or
Mm.
street ball, right? But it's the takeaway I think for youth players within futsal is the creativity, the speed of thought, the speed of play, um, the excitement of the game. That every time you have the ball, it's a decision, that you have to make. There's no hiding in the game, and these are all awesome things, right? And so the first thing is players need to see it, right? That's number one, and it's great that I'm sure we have now the game's more accessible than ever. So kids are watching soccer on TV. They're going to games. I mean, we just had the World Cup here, right? I know not priced for everyone, certainly not for me, but people went, right? And this is awesome, right? But we have the Gloom here in the backyard, right? And it's futsal. It's guys who are professional. There's this you guys are in a league in the regional. You're traveling, like this is real, right?
Mhm.
And that's important, I think, for our kids to understand. It's important for our kids to see. So number one is making sure that our northern kids are connected to Gloom and just first of all getting to the games, right? That creates an initial connection, I think.
Yep.
Number two is they're going to see that and they're going to like it. They're going to fall in love with it, right? Or they're going to see the skills, right? Futsal is such a creative, fun game. They're going to see that and they're going to want to emulate it, right? And so then from there, how we can create connections, if that's camps, if that's clinics, things like that, that Gloom is reaching out into the community, into Northern, and showing, hey, this is what you can learn through futsal. This is how you can improve yourself through futsal. So there's, certainly I think kind of a twofold approach that initially is having them see it and fall in love with it, and then Gloom coming and interacting with those players and showing them this is how good you can be in futsal.
100%. And I think I can show this picture here. If you can see that on our screen, you can see the Gloom youth kids in the back playing their own side game while the Gloom players are playing.
Yeah, and that's this is what it's about, right? And much like just youth soccer in general, I'm sure from your playing days and stuff like that, it's like you don't really remember games, you remember memories, you remember moments,
100%.
and that's a memory in a moment, right? But they're going to latch on to things like that, and futsal gave them that experience, right? And so we can do and we should do more of that.
100%. Yeah. So quick story, how you mentioned that futsal is a different sport. Yes, it has different rules, but yet it's kind of similar.
For sure.
So I was playing on Scott's team. And this was, I guess, at the time 2 years ago, and it was a co-ed league. I had so much fun. The ball rolls out of bounds. I grab the ball, put the ball on the ground, and kick it in. And they're like, "No, you can't do that." And I was like, "What are you guys talking about?" I was like, "I just kicked the ball in." So they were probably like, "Who is this dude?" And I played soccer my whole life. And
That's great. That's great.
You can't take the guy out of the futsal kind of thing. But I was like, "Oh shoot, you're supposed to throw the ball in. That's how you're supposed to play soccer." But I was also playing futsal, so I fired back, and people were just like, "Oh man, like put this guy in the parking lot. He's no good." So.
Hey Scott, if you are listening, man, hey, David still wants to spot on your team, buddy.
Yeah, sorry, Scott. Yeah, no, exactly. Let's see. I think we had a question from the crowd. Let me go back to it real quick if I can. Let's see. It was a very Santa Fe-esque question.
All right.
Let's see. Hold on one second. Hold that thought, everyone. We might have lost it. Oh, here it is. I can help you with this. So I have to ask, red or green?
Oh, it's green all day.
Okay.
To be fair, I tried Christmas one time just because it's the thing to do, and it was quite good, but never been a fan of red. So it's been green since day one. So
cool. Yeah, any good food spots yet that you've discovered?
Oh my goodness, yeah. Tomasitas, of course.
Yeah, there you go.
Love it. Plaza Cafe. It's great.
Downtown or south side or both?
I've been to both, yeah. But I live closer to the south side, so that's very convenient. Goodness, I will go if I'm just craving something quick, fast and real burrito on South Midlothian Airport. I love just quick through there. So that's my guilty pleasure. But the reality is, I don't think you can go wrong with food in Santa Fe. So but we're still trying out a lot for sure. But what I've discovered so far, again, like I said in the beginning, unlike anything else here. So
it's really good. And you've kind of touched on it already, but World Cup, your response. I know this is a loaded question. This deserves its own podcast, but just briefly, kind of just unload on just your thoughts, and also how it reflects back on communities like ours, like Santa Fe. Because I feel like when we were talking just before we went live, we all have responsibility for the wins and losses if we're a part of the beautiful game.
For sure. I think, look, Belgium did a good game, right? They played fantastic. That result against the U.S., it was one of those, it was like you didn't want to expect it, but in the back of your head, you were just, for me at least, you're always wondering, like, are they for real? And, the U.S. played different, and Pochettino said it as much, right? They didn't execute in the way that they had in previous games within the tournament and the friendlies leading up to it. But I thought the way Belgium played was it completely countered everything the U.S. wanted to do, right? The U.S. wanted to press high, they did well. They pressed very well to begin, but then Belgium started skipping lines, playing more direct, trying to win second balls, and the U.S. and just wasn't prepared for it. And so Belgium did great, and they attacked well from wide spaces, and and as we talked again earlier, it was just sometimes it looked like some of the players weren't ready for the moment, right? You have to meet the moment, and I've never been in that situation, so I don't know how I would react, right? But I know in the past, right, when you think of past center backs or players, one of my favorite players for the national team ever was like Jay Demerit, right? It's a great story. Was not the most gifted player, but just had great intuition about the game. And I thought when De Ketelaere scored the header, like there's 3 U.S. guys standing there. And it's like, I don't know if center backs of the past would have allowed for that, right? So, but again, maybe some psychological things with the whole Balogun, red card coming back. And there was a lot, I would like to think professional athletes at that level are tuning that kind of stuff out. But, it just seemed a perfect storm. And I think Belgium had an axe to grind because of some of that stuff too. And they were really growing into the tournament. They started poor and they finished really strong against New Zealand. And it was like kind of, so we'll see how they do. In terms of how that, kind of reflects back to us, that type of result, and again, it's been 32 years and we've had the same results from 94 to 2026. We missed a World Cup within there. 98, we didn't make the World Cup as well. Why? Right. And, some of that is certainly player development, right? Some of that is what we need to value at the youth level, I think. And a lot of clubs do a tremendous job of focusing on the player and focusing on not the result as the primary driver, not mistaking player, like winning for player development, those types of things.
That's hard to do, I assume, right?
Yes and no. I think if you really believe in what you're doing, and you can, within a club express that to families that this is what we're going to do, and you do that well, then I think people are on board, right? But you can't say it and not do it. You can't say it and not have a plan. And again, I think there's hundreds of clubs around this country that do an exceptional job, right? But I think we can always do more. I think we can always do better. The accessibility thing, right? We are so proud at Northern to be able to, make this game as accessible as possible to families, right? And, our board, Scott and now myself, doing work to, grants and sponsorship and things like that to help make the game accessible, right? And but that can always grow more for clubs, right? Because there's kids right now who don't have access to this game that want to or need to. And, so solving that issue, not just here in northern New Mexico, but across the country. And some of that starts with, U.S. soccer, right, top down. But we also, I think, have that responsibility to try to do more within the community, outreach more, and develop players, right? Not just play soccer, but develop players. And so, maybe that works, maybe that doesn't, right? I also think that there comes a time that you're professional soccer players. You just need to win a game, so it's your job. So you just need to win a game sometimes. So.
Yeah, the accessibility piece, I think, is also a huge topic that deserves its own episode to really grind out and get into the weeds on, for sure. But I'm really glad you brought that up. As you know, too, Santa Fe Gloom games are completely free for the entire community. So when you're saying one of the solutions with the Gloom in northern New Mexico and northern soccer partnering and continuing to grow the game is to see the game, we're breaking down that barrier right away by saying, hey, you got no excuses. You guys can come out to the game when it comes to monetary value anyway, and come out to the game for free. And that's what we want. So I'm glad Gloom is contributing to that mission statement and one of your solutions.
Yeah, we appreciate that, right? And we need, it's everyone. It does take a community, right, to advance anything, right? And Gloom is part of that solution, and so that's something that we very much appreciate and value with having this relationship for sure.
This is a great question too. Do you typically see an increase or anticipate an increase in interest in soccer among youth and families with the World Cup happening?
Without a doubt. And I think that it was in the U.S. Is going to raise the interest in the number of kids who want to play, right? I remember in 1994, I was a little child, and it's some of the best memories of my life, right? I went to Chicago with my dad to Soldier Field, saw Germany and Spain play. Despite Klinsmann playing for Tottenham, because I'm a Chelsea fan, he scored. He was my favorite player at the time. I got to see him. Klinsmann was a 5.5-year-old. Got to do my first wave Those things, like, they live with me forever, right? And they help propel that love, right? Went to a game of the Silver Dome. I saw Eric Ronaldo scores free kick right against Switzerland, and they went 1-1. An amazing goal, one of the best goals I think the World Cup's ever seen. And so there was a massive boom. The MLS was built out of the World Cup, and if not for the World Cup, I don't know if the MLS would exist in the fashion it does, because you needed that groundswell of interest and support. So I for sure am anticipating an interest. I'd like to. I want everyone to play soccer, hopefully with Northern, but I want everyone to play soccer. But I for sure would anticipate growth.
I agree 100%. Got to get David back on the pitch.
Let's make it happen. I love it.
There's no way. And what excites you about Northern Soccer Club?
Look, I believe in community clubs. The two previous clubs I worked at were nonprofit community clubs, and that's what Northern is. And for me, it means more when you're connected to the community, when you want to give back to the community. You live and work in that community, and that's something that's always been important to me personally. That accessibility factor, right, of trying to bring the game to more people. Very proud of our after school program. We partner with community and schools to do that, right, and just more of that accessibility. These are all things that I want to be a part of. I believe in. I want to help grow those opportunities, strengthen those relationships. Those are things that I just really feel, right? It's not just kind of what we do at Northern. It's like who we are. It's part of just the DNA of the club.
100%. And another question, what are summer camps Northern is offering?
Yeah, so if you go to our website, northernsoccerclub.com, I believe it's under resources. Maybe it's under the recreation tab now. There's camps. I believe that there's a couple left for the summer. Our camps right now are, we outsource those to a couple other companies. But next summer, we'll be running our own camps. I think that we can do more to offer more for our players, and we have that responsibility, I think. And, so next summer we'll be running our own camps, but I think there's a couple more left yet in July. So if you just go to our website, I believe it's under the recreation tab.
Great. Kevin, what are we leaving out? Man, you're a wealth of knowledge. I mentioned this to you. And I mean, we're so excited to have you in Santa Fe. Again, like with Coach Pat, our coach, he lives and breathes soccer. Like, he does this full time, all day, every day. And you're very similar. And that's what we need in Santa Fe to continue the growth in the game. So,
well, I appreciate that. And it's just, he says, it's my life, right? And I'm grateful that, that my career is soccer. I'm so grateful for that. My dad always just said, give back to the game, right? It's been good to you, so give back to it. And that's just, I wake up, I feel like I want to do that and I need to do that, right? And so I don't have all the answers. I know that I want to keep learning and being better at my job all the time. But, I really believe in this, and I believe in Northern, and, I believe in partnerships like this, because this is real. It helps grow the community. It helps bring, futsal to kids that probably don't know what it is, or kids that have an interest but want to figure out how to get involved, or kids that are really good at futsal and need more of it. So, the appreciation is likewise, David.
Yeah, no, 100%. Have another question. I think it's kind of directed towards us. Are there upcoming camps sponsored by Gloom? We don't have anything organized at the moment, but myself, Sergio, and Pat, we're definitely hoping to offload at least one summer camp. And then our season starts in the wintertime, so we want to get a fall camp in. Kudos to the Fonda Foundation. We did a camp, I think, a couple months back, and it was great. So look out for that. And, we want futsal to be year round. And it's for us, we're just going step by step. We're laying every brick very strategically, and then we lay another brick. So we want to make sure that the offerings that we have is first class for the sponsored events for Gloom and for futsal. And I'm sure Northern, you're very similar with that. You know, like you had to learn the culture of the community to be able to be like, okay, next season, next year, we can now do our own Northern, camps, etc.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to understand, your audience. You have to understand what people want. You have to marry that with what you feel works best, right? But yeah, and we have to be intentional about everything we do, and it can't just be throw it at the wall, see if it sticks. And we can do some trial and error always, right? But we have a responsibility to do things the right way, and respect the community, and make sure that when we do present things for soccer, futsal, for the players here, that it's done the right way.
100%. Kevin, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you. Man, we're so excited for Northern soccer. Like, I'm so pumped, and to see just the products you produce in terms of just mentally and all the goals that you guys are going to score. And one thing that really sold me on you was like you feel the burden and the responsibility of being in a part of community of Santa Fe. And that's something that I take super personal too. And I know Sergio, our general manager, and Coach Pat, and our players, wearing the Gloom badge, is a huge responsibility. Like, you're representing sponsors, fans, how you conduct yourself in the community, all of those things. And I know you're exactly the same way. So just want to give you kudos for that. And we just wish you the best of luck. And, our first game is, I think, scheduled for January 9th. We would love to have Northern Soccer Club in those showcase games right before our Gloom game. And then there's red and yellow and black cheering for Gloom that day.
Well, and thank you, David. I mean, I'm very honored to be on, and happy to continue the conversation on another episode, another month. And I appreciate the kind words, and like I said, everything I do, I feel it, right? And and the people here at Northern the same way, right? Mm-hmm. And everyone connected with this club really, really cares, and that one makes it easier. Mm-hmm. But it also makes it so exciting and energizing to work every single day. And the beauty is with the futsal games, we will be doing our recreation programming the mornings in the lead up to the Gloom games. So, that's already set and sorted. So we're fortunate to be able to hopefully have players and families who want to stick around and see what, how cool the product is going to be on the field, on the court.
Amazing. I mean, we're going to take over the Chavez Center with so many smiling faces.
Love it. That's what it's about.
All right. I think we got through all of our questions. Go Northern Soccer League. Go Gloom.
Love it.
We'll finish on that. Kevin, thank you so much. We'll have you back on. We'll obviously keep in touch. And go Northern Soccer League and go Gloom.
All right. Thanks, David.
Thanks.